Picture this. You're sitting across from your financial advisor, and they ask about your biggest money concerns. Do you share what you rehearsed on the way over, the sanitized version of your financial life? Or do you tell them about the real sleepless nights, the money fights with your spouse, the embarrassing financial mistakes you're still paying for? If you're like most families, you choose the first option, and that choice might be sabotaging your financial future. In this episode, I'm going to take you inside what we call financial sanctuary creation, a journey that transforms families from performing their financial life to living it authentically with professional guidance. You'll hear real stories, understand the complete transformation process, and discover how the strongest financial relationships work. I'm Alex from Safe, Simple, Sound Financial Planning, and over the past year, we've been tracking a fascinating pattern. The families who build lasting wealth don't choose between professional expertise and personal honesty. They create something better, genuine sanctuaries where both can flourish. We'll explore three key transformations. First, how families move from financial performance anxiety to psychological safety. Second, the complete journey from facade to authentic partnership. And finally, how professional relationships evolve into lifelong financial stewardship through truth telling. Let's start with the moment everything changes, when families realize they've been performing their financial life instead of living it. Here's what we've discovered. The strongest financial relationships begin with what we call financial sanctuary creation, a systematic approach to building psychological safety around money conversations. This isn't just about finding a nice advisor. It's about creating an environment where complete honesty becomes possible. You see, most families face what feels like an impossible choice when it comes to working with financial professionals. They think they have to choose between presenting their best face to their advisor and getting advice based on incomplete information, or sharing their honest reality and risking judgment, embarrassment, or loss of professional respect. But here's what we've learned from working with many families. This is a false choice. The most successful families, the ones who build lasting wealth and strong relationships, don't choose between professional respect and personal honesty. They insist on relationships where both can coexist. These families have figured out something crucial. Financial planning based on partial information is inherently limited, no matter how technically competent the advisor might be. They recognize that authentic sharing isn't just nice to have, it's essential for effective advice. Imagine a couple who had left their previous advisor because they felt they couldn't be honest about their real financial concerns. If they could have created genuine sanctuary, they might have said something like, "We realized that if we couldn't tell our advisor about our real money worries and mistakes, we weren't going to get advice that actually works for our real life. We needed someone who could handle the truth about how we actually manage money." That's the kind of sophisticated thinking that leads to breakthrough relationships. When families understand that the strength of their financial plan depends on the honesty of their relationship with their advisor, everything changes. Pause for a moment and think about this. In your current financial relationships, whether with an advisor, your spouse, or family members, do you feel completely safe telling the truth about money? Not just the facts and figures, but your real fears, your past mistakes, your confusion about complex decisions. This is exactly what financial sanctuary creation is designed to address. The foundation of financial sanctuary rests on four pillars that we've identified through our time working with families. First is the judgment-free environment, where past financial mistakes become learning opportunities rather than sources of shame. Second is complete confidentiality that goes beyond legal requirements to create sacred trust. Third is collaborative partnership, where the advisor brings technical expertise and the family brings life expertise. And fourth is sustainable pacing that removes timeline pressure and respects how families actually make important decisions. When families experience all four pillars simultaneously, something remarkable happens. They stop performing their financial life and start living it authentically with professional support. Let me share a hypothetical example that illustrates this perfectly. Imagine a family who had been shopping for financial advice for over 2 years. They would meet with advisors, present their financial situation in the best possible light, get recommendations that sounded good on paper, but then never feel confident enough to actually implement anything. In a sanctuary based approach, the breakthrough would come when they realized they needed to stop performing and start collaborating. Once they could create genuine sanctuary, a space where they could share their real concerns about their business, their worries about their kids' futures, even their embarrassment about past investment mistakes, everything would change. The advice would become personal, practical, and actually implementable because it would be based on their complete reality. Now that you understand how psychological safety transforms the foundation of financial relationships, let me show you exactly what this journey looks like from the inside, how families actually move from performance to authentic partnership. Here's what the complete financial sanctuary creation journey actually looks like, and more importantly, how it feels for families going through this transformation. We've broken this down into three distinct stages that every successful family goes through. The first stage is what we call recognition. This is when families suddenly realize we've been editing our financial story for our advisor. It's that moment when they recognize they've been presenting a sanitized version of their financial life rather than their authentic experience. During this stage, families start to understand that the anxiety they feel before financial meetings isn't just about complex decisions, it's about maintaining a performance. They've been rehearsing what to say, what not to mention, how to frame things in the best possible light. The principle at work here is that authentic foundation becomes possible for the first time. Instead of building financial strategies on an edited version of their life, they can finally build on truth. Can you feel the difference already? Instead of spending time before financial meetings rehearsing what to say and what to hide, families start preparing to share what's actually happening. This shift from performance to authenticity changes everything that follows. The second stage is integration. This is when families discover our advisor can handle our real life, not just our financial highlights. This is where the magic of both and solutions becomes possible. During this stage, the advice families receive becomes fundamentally different because it's based on complete reality rather than partial information. The advisor starts understanding not just their financial goals, but their family dynamics, their real spending patterns, their actual decision-making process, their honest concerns about the future. How this feels is profound. Deep partnership emerges as professional expertise meets personal honesty. Families stop feeling like they're being sold to and start feeling like they're being understood. The advisor stops feeling like a vendor and starts feeling like a thinking partner. I want you to imagine going through this process yourself. Instead of worrying about what your advisor thinks of your financial mistakes, you're collaborating with someone who helps you learn from them. Instead of getting generic advice based on limited information, you're receiving strategies designed specifically for your actual family dynamics, your real-life constraints, your honest goals. This is what constitutional financial planning actually looks like, where professional competence and personal authenticity integrate rather than compete. The third stage is evolution. This is when families reach the point where we have a trusted partner who helps us navigate our authentic financial life. At this stage, financial planning strengthens family relationships rather than creating performance pressure. Money conversations become productive rather than performative. Instead of dreading financial discussions, families start looking forward to them because they know they'll get clarity, not judgment. They know they'll get strategies that actually work for their real life, not theoretical plans that look good on paper. The constitutional principle here is the integration of professional expertise with personal authenticity, creating sustainable partnership. This isn't a one-time transaction. It's an ongoing relationship that deepens and strengthens over time. Here's what fascinates me about families who complete this journey. Their entire relationship with money planning changes. Instead of that exhausting choice between we need to look good for our advisor versus we need to solve our real money problems, it becomes we have a trusted partner who helps us navigate our authentic financial life. That subtle shift transforms everything. Money conversations stop feeling like performance reviews and start feeling like collaborative planning sessions. Financial advice stops feeling generic and starts feeling personal. Let me paint a picture of how this transformation could work. Imagine a family where the husband was convinced they needed to hide their credit card debt from any potential advisor. The wife was embarrassed about her impulse purchases. They were both worried about their lack of retirement savings at their age. In this scenario, they might spend months researching advisors, reading reviews, having initial consultations, but never moving forward with anyone because they couldn't imagine being honest about their real situation. If they could experience the financial sanctuary approach, the transformation would happen when they realized that their financial planning wasn't failing because they hadn't found the right advisor. It was failing because they hadn't found the right relationship. With genuine sanctuary, everything would change. They could share their complete picture: the debt, the spending patterns, the retirement worries, even their disagreements about money priorities. Instead of judgment, they would get a comprehensive strategy that addressed their real situation. Instead of generic advice, they would get a plan that worked with their personalities and their actual financial patterns. 6 months later, they might say something like, "This is the first time we felt like partners in our financial future instead of students being graded on our financial performance." This transformation from performance to partnership creates something powerful, but the real magic happens in how these relationships evolve over time. Let me show you what lasting financial sanctuary actually looks like. The families who master financial sanctuary creation don't just solve their immediate trust issues, they build relationships that strengthen over decades. This is where the constitutional principle of sound thinking comes into play, building relationships that stand the test of time and adapt to life's changes. Here's how professional partnership evolves through authentic truth telling. The advisor relationship transforms from what we call transaction based service to relationship based partnership. Instead of quarterly check ins to review performance numbers, families engage in ongoing conversations about how life changes affect financial strategies. The advisor becomes a thinking partner who understands not just the numbers, but the family stories behind them. They know the family's values, their communication patterns, their decision making style. They understand what keeps each family member up at night and what gets them excited about the future. What I find most interesting is how sanctuary-based relationships handle life's inevitable challenges. When market volatility hits, these families don't panic. They have a trusted partner who knows their complete situation and can provide both technical guidance and emotional perspective. When family dynamics shift, kids going to college, career changes, health issues, inheritance decisions, the advisor already understands the relationships and can help navigate changes authentically, rather than having to start from scratch each time. Consider how this might work. Imagine when a major disruption, like an economic downturn, affects a family's business income. If they had a sanctuary-based relationship, they wouldn't have to spend precious time educating their advisor about their situation during a crisis. The advisor would already know their real expenses, their actual priorities, their genuine concerns. They could focus on solutions instead of explanations. These families have learned something profound. Authentic financial planning doesn't just build wealth, it strengthens family relationships around money. They've moved from choosing between professional expertise and personal honesty to having both in integrated partnership. Their financial plans aren't just technically sound, they're personally sustainable because they're built on the foundation of who they actually are, not who they think they should be. This is what constitutional financial planning actually looks like in practice: systematic approaches that honor both professional competence and human authenticity. Families don't have to choose between sophisticated strategies and genuine relationships. They can have both when sanctuary becomes the foundation. The constitutional principle of both and, rather than either or, transforms not just their financial outcomes, but their entire experience of financial planning. It stops being something they have to endure and becomes something that actually strengthens their family. Whether you decide to work with us here at Safe Simple Sound Financial Planning, another advisor, or handle your finances independently, here's what I want you to remember. You deserve financial relationships built on complete honesty. You don't have to choose between professional expertise and personal authenticity. The strongest financial outcomes come from the strongest relationships, and the strongest relationships are built on truth, not performance. If this resonates with your experience, if you felt the exhaustion of performing your financial life, or wondered what authentic professional partnership could look like, we would love to continue this conversation. We offer initial consultations specifically designed to help families assess their financial communication needs and explore what sanctuary could mean for their specific situation. There's no pressure, no sales presentation, just an honest conversation about whether this approach might work for your family. Whatever path you choose for your family's financial future, remember this: you don't have to choose between professional expertise and personal authenticity. The strongest financial relationships create genuine sanctuaries where honest conversation leads to strategies that actually work for real life. Financial planning should strengthen your family relationships around money, not require you to perform a version of your financial life that doesn't feel authentic. I'm Alex from Safe Simple Sound Financial Planning, and thanks for joining me on this journey into what authentic financial partnership can look like. If you found this helpful, we'd love to hear about your experience with financial relationships. What's worked, what hasn't, and what questions you still have about creating genuine sanctuary in your money conversations.